So now that we got the basics out of the way, I'm going to start to get a little more into advanced and expert stuff, and I'll do that in one hit. So, essentially, what you have with weed, you have a couple compounds that actually are the reason you get affected when you consume marijuana or cannabis. You have the entourage effect, and you have THC, CBD, CBN, CAGBC. You have a ton of different cannabinoids. Most of the other ones are medical, but THC, it has medical properties, but that's the one you will mainly feel. The other ones will help, like, they'll help with the feeling and they'll help with other things. This is where the entourage effect comes in. What people find is when they smoke concentrated forms, so we're talking like shatter, we're talking like anything where you isolate the THC compound, it hits hard, but it doesn't have the same effect really. This is where the entourage effect comes in. And how this gets presented is in cancer patients when they take marijuana compounds that have all the other cannabinoids in it. What you end up getting is they feel better, the effect lasts longer, they can eat better. If they just have THC or the other main one, CBD, they feel it, it helps, but it doesn't help as much as having the rest in there. And even what they find is like people might not really like stuff that has just pure THC in it. They may find it's too strong for them, or they may find like they just don't like it. But they can smoke bud and it actually has the rest of the compounds in it, like the flower of it has the rest of the compounds in it, and they feel better when they smoke. And then this comes into play when you're deciding what you want as like a marijuana plant for growing. And then you can figure out, okay, just they need to, I want one that has more of this and more of that in it. Then you can pick from the compounds, and that's how they do it medically. Furthermore, the terpenes, now we're going down another level. Terpenes are the personality of the plant and how it tastes and how it makes you feel, and they have medical properties to them too. So they do have some effect to you. This is where the personality of the plant comes in because, and I learned this when I was in a medical grow op because I worked in that for a couple of years. The one of the extractors said that basically like terpenes account for basically the difference between say OG Kush and AK-47 or Nebula or like some of the new ones. That's why they all feel different because THC is THC, right? Other than very minor differences, like all the compounds are all the compounds. You'll find them in every marijuana plant. That's why they feel so different. And so terpenes don't get talked too much about, but then you have another level is flavonoids, and that's kind of a new one. You'll find these in other plants too. And flavonoids are much more medical, and they're marijuana is just one of the few plants that has a decent amount of it in it. That's basically how this kind of works is like it has slightly more flavonoids. So if scientists are able to isolate those, they're able to help make better medical stuff with it. And and yeah, that's kind of how that works. So there's kind of like the chemicals you're dealing with when you talk about the marijuana conversation. And then when you want to go and grow it, you have four main ways you can do that. You have hydroponics, you have like conventional, which is just throwing it in the ground. You have aquaponics, and you have aeroponics. Aeroponics is kind of used for weed. I've the one facility I worked in for a year, and we did aquaponics, and it was the best thing ever. You typically see this for lettuce right now because the systems aren't refined, but just yeah, right there. It's a fun system, and you actually grow really good plants, and they're excellent for mother plants. So, and mother plants are how you make clones. So you grow a plant, you keep a certain lighting on it so it doesn't start to bud. Snip the like cuttings off of it and plant them into like little pots, and then they can just start growing their own plants. And that's what mother plants are, if you've ever heard that term. So basically, that's kind of how you can grow it. You can grow mothers, or you can grow to like bud, and that's where you get nutrient counts in, and that's where you get lighting. Here's the secret: weed and cannabis is very sensitive to light. As soon as you change the lighting schedule, then what happens is it'll start to like produce flowers, the the things that you smoke. And furthermore, if there's a source of light in that room when it's supposed to be in complete darkness and resting, it will stay growing. It will stay a mother. And we had this in the facility. Like, 3 plants were starting to bud, and because there was a bug light on there, it actually kept 3 of the plants in mother form. And we were looking at this and we're like, that doesn't look like it's trying to bud anything, you know? But it's very sensitive to light, and it's one of the few plants that actually takes decent amounts of phosphorus well. But the problem is there's a misconception here. Phosphorus isn't really good for the environment. It's one of the main nutrients you'd find in a grow. And basically, what ends up happening is, like, it can take decent amounts of it, other plants can't. And so growers have a misconception that you need to load it with it. Not necessarily true. But there's a primer on everything to growing, and then the next video, and I'm only going to do a short on it, will be about extraction. And I kind of covered that here. All right, here's more from Riding After Hours.